Hey, it's your boy Easy, and on today's episode of Easy Opens, we're going to be taking a look at the Neca Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mirage Comics Karai as the Shredder figure. Karai first appeared in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue 52, City at War, Part 3 from October of 1992. She was created by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird and is a Japanese female human being. Sometimes is the daughter of the Shredder, and in this storyline, she is the leader of the Japanese branch of the Foot. And then after City at War, she is the leader of the New York branch as well. And then often she is considered to be both an antagonist but also an ally to the Turtles, depending on what the writers want to do with her. The box art looks great, as NECA is to do with all of their Mirage Comics box art. It's fantastic, but let's get this figure free from its plastic prison and see what we think about Karai as the Shredder. Alright, so fresh out the box, this figure looks great. I'm a big fan of the comic look of the Foot Soldiers for the most part, like pretty much every iteration of them. I have an affinity for the mummy look from the cartoon and the video games, but Eastman and Laird did a great job with the simplicity but yet the coolness factor in the suits for the Foot back in the day, and Karai is looking great in this suit as well. I think I like her a little bit more than I like the Shredder's look from this line, because the Shredder that I have is from the Foot Clan box set, and the maroon is a little bit darker here on Karai, and I think it looks a lot better like this. Still, there's just something about the Shredder's outfit, regardless of if it's him or if it's really just anyone with that moniker, I guess. I don't know. Maybe that's just like in my own head, but regardless, I think Karai pulls it off really well here, and I kind of like this a little bit better than the Shredder figure. A lot of it could also be because of the contrast between how dark the maroon is on her outfit, as well as how shiny her metal parts are on her shoulders, forearms, the back of the hand, and then the shin guards. The face sculpt is really good, and the hair sculpt is great. Just the detail that's subtle but just adds so much to this figure that's pretty simple when you look at actually what's all here. It just adds so much to it. And yeah, I'm a big fan of this figure. They feel great, they look great, and yeah, I really don't have any complaints. They're not too frail. Because a lot of times with action figure lines, some of the female figures tend to be a little bit more slender than the male figures, so the parts kind of just feel a little like weak, I guess, for lack of a better term. But these are pretty good. They're pretty sturdy, and all the joints and everything, and she's not too frail, if you will. And so yeah, I'm a big fan of this figure so far. So Karai comes with 6 hands, an empty Shredder helmet, a masked Shredder head, an unmasked Karai head, a katana, a ninjata, and 2 swords with spikes. I don't know what the actual name for this sword is. If you know, let me know in the comments, but they look awesome. All right, now let's talk about Karai as the Shredder. So, starting at the head, you have 360 at the neck. She can't really look up too much because of the back of the hair impedes that. However, she can look down a considerable distance, which is probably what she's normally doing from rooftops, looking down on the turtles and whatnot. Let's see. She's got some side to side too, so there's some room there to move her around up there in the head. Moving on down to the shoulders, she would have 360 at the shoulders. However, the shoulder pad, which is pretty stiff, is going to keep you from doing 360 there, but she does have a joint in the armpit, so you can get some motion out that way. She's got 360 at the bicep, double jointed elbows at the elbow. There's also a swivel at the forearm, as well as 360 at the wrist, and a joint there as well that you can get some wrist action going on. Moving on to the chest, 360 at the chest. There is a little bit of a crunch there too, so you can get her to wiggle around however you need her to. However, it does feel like there might be some articulation down in the waist area. However, this is all this appears to be one piece This whole section, let me see if I'm showing it right. Yeah, like right here, that all seems to be one piece, and seems to inhibit whatever articulation is there. So your mileage may vary with that, but mine's not having any give there at all. Splits, excellent range of splits. Like that's almost like all the way, or actually, I think that is all the way. She's got thigh swivel, and then double jointed. Let's see, yeah, thigh swivel, double jointed knees. I thought that this might be a swivel here too on the calf, but it's just not. I think it's because the way that the guard is that it would bend and or not bend, but it would just get in the way. So yeah, so that's all one piece. Then you have an ankle rocker and so an ankle joint as well. And if I'm not mistaken, that is all the articulation that you're going to get out of Karai as the Shredder. So I couldn't find a accurate height or weight for this version of this character, but she's fairly tall in the books, if I remember correctly, and I'm not going to guess her weight, but this figure stands at 6 3/8 of an inch and weighs 2 ounces. So now let's see how she measures up to some other figures you might have in your collection. Here she is with the NECA 1987 animated series April O'Neil 2.0 and Irma. Here she is with SH Figuarts Kamen Rider Jean and Figma's Marnie. Here she is with NECA's Mirage Comics Splinter and the Return to New York Leonardo. Here she is with NECA's 1987 animated series Leonardo and the NECA knockoff colored bandana Mirage Comics Raphael. Here she is with NECA's Alf and Jada Toys Ken Masters. Here she is with Storm Collectibles Sub-Zero and Masters of the Universe Classics web store. Here she is with the Hasbro Power Rangers Lightning Collection April O'Neil Pink Ranger and Hasbro's Marvel Legends Wolverine. And here she is with the NECA 1987 animated series Shredder and the NECA Mirage Comics Shredder. Here she is with the NECA 1987 animated series Foot Soldier and the NECA Mirage Comics Elite Foot Soldier. And here she is with the Shredder helmet and the NECA Mirage Comics Shredder figure. So Karai is one of those characters that I don't really remember how I found out that she existed, because like she wasn't in the 87 animated series or even mentioned if I recall correctly. And then I don't think she was in any early video games from back then either. But it had to have just been that like once I got the internet, I just went down the rabbit hole and was like looking up all this stuff about things I loved as a kid and was like, who's on the cover of this book? And it's like, oh, it's Shredder's daughter, Karai. And from that moment, well, I'm assuming from that moment, I loved this character. I thought her name was cool. I thought the idea of Shredder having a daughter who was also a leader of the Foot Clan and could hold her own and was like a force to be reckoned with. Like when she shows up, it's like you kind of take notice and you're kind of like aware because like it can get real fast. And I kind of loved that about her character and still do to this day. And I think that NECA did a fantastic job here again with their Mirage comic line, bringing this figure to life in plastic form. I really dig how they pulled this figure off. And she looks great. She plays great. She feels great. She poses really well, especially with her accessories, like all the weapons. Like she looks great with those. And I'm really glad that they included the weapons because like if it was just this figure, I'm not entirely sure why. I just feel like it would have been like it would have needed something else. And so I'm really glad that they included a lot more accessories. I feel like at the price point that like if this was like a $20 Marvel Legends figure, I would totally be okay with that because like unlike a lot of Marvel Legends female figures, this figure actually has sculpted on parts and there's like actual detail and in the sculpt and not just painted on stuff. And so that would be fine. But at the price point that NECA's figures are at, I'm really glad they included the accessories, especially the Shredder heads. I think those look awesome. And there's something just really eerie about having a Shredder head with pupils, even one without pupils. Like it's so ingrained in my psyche that like that Shredder helmet is like another thing that you're like, if you see that, you're like, oh, you tighten up, and you're like, all right, things could get real. I don't know why this is here. So like I could probably never own the prop replica of his helmet in my house like that. I don't know. I just don't think I could handle it. But anyway, I digress. This figure is really neat, and I really do like this version of this character. I'm a big fan of Shredder's outfit in general, and I think Karai still looks great in it. I mean, there's not much difference between her and Shredder, sculpt wise, if I'm being honest. But I really love the maroon, the darker color than the previous Shredder that we received from Neca, from this line. And I dig the shininess of the metal a lot because of the contrast there, like I think I mentioned earlier. But I'm still not 100% sure what head sculpt I want to pose her with, like on the shelf, because they're all great, but like I kind of feel like I want the actual Shredder head with the pupils on, because that just would elicit some questions from anyone who comes and looks at my collection. I mean, not that I really have a lot of people coming over into my office and looking at it, but as toy collectors, we got to be prepared for those kind of inevitabilities, because eventually it'll happen, I'm sure, right? And so, it's nice to just go ahead and know that that's taken care of and that we've got that figured out. But that figured out, no, oh goodness. Anyway, but I think especially once we get the version of this character from her appearance on Mirage Volume 1, number 56, the one where she looks like she's an X-Force and she's got the shoulder pads and the bow and arrow, I'm definitely going to keep the Shredder head on this figure, because in my head, that's the way that I always saw Karai, probably because that's how I first got introduced to her just back in the day. So yeah, but until then, I'm still probably just going to leave it on there. Either way, whichever head you have on her, she looks great with the rest of the Foot Clan from this line. She goes well with pretty much any of your NECA turtles, be it the Return to New York turtles, the original Mirage Comics Red Bandana turtles, and I'd say she could even go with some of the 87 animated series figures, because she looks a little too serious and a little there is a difference, but I mean, you could fudge it. It's not too dissimilar, and besides, I mean, they did TMNT forever, so you could blur the lines very quickly there, and I think that she could go well with pretty much any of them, and so that's really cool. She also can go well with a lot of other lines. Like, that's something I really love about the Foot being a little plain in their design, is that it makes it to where they can work with pretty much any character or line that you might have in that same scale. So like, you could have her fighting Kamen Rider, you could have her fighting the Rocketeer, Alf, like who knows, like any of these characters. And so I really dig that about the Foot's aesthetic. So having said all that, I'm a big fan of this figure, and I think that if you're collecting this Mirage line, you definitely need to pick this up, because she's really cool, and she's just basically another version of the Shredder, and you can't have too many Shredders, if I'm being honest with you. And so yeah, if you have a shelf dedicated to really sharp action figures that have just really pointy things on them, she'll go great there. If you have a shelf dedicated to Ninja Turtle baddies, she's definitely going to go up there, because I mean, she can be an ally from time to time. I don't think anyone's going to ask any questions if she's up there with the rest of the baddies. So there's that. If you have a shelf dedicated to gender swapped characters, just put the Shredder head on, and yeah, there you go. Or if you're a fan of characters who have severe daddy issues, then you are not going to be disappointed with this Karai as the Shredder action figure. All right, well, that's going to do it for me today. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, hit the like button. If you want to see more from me, hit subscribe, and let me know in the comments, what's your favorite version of Karai? Are you a fan of her in general? And yeah, do you think she can pull off the Shredder outfit? I think she can. And if you want to hear me talk more about the Ninja Turtles, please check out my podcast, Turtle Soup, here on YouTube. My buddy Ryan and I, we talk about the Ninja Turtles a lot over the years, and we've definitely talked about Karai. We're going through the entire Ninja Turtles like franchise chronologically, and we do have some episodes solely dedicated to the Mirage issues. And so yeah, you can find them on wherever you find podcasts, And then we live stream usually on Thursday nights here on YouTube. So check that out if that sounds interesting to you. And until then, else time.